I always
great reminder.
Great. Right as we're live. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I'm TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given. Joined as always by the immaculate, the excellent John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. We were just talking about how we forgot to go live on Instagram, and I had just clicked live. So we're still 3 minutes early, so we can.
Right, like this should be bonus time. This doesn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No one's here yet.
You fucking ingrates.
We are speaking to an audience of nothing, TJ.
You know, I really like. There was a VH1. VH1 did a couple of movies back in the 90s, like TV, made-for-TV movies. They did one of the Jackson 5 and one of the Temptations. And I don't know if you ever saw those. They're pretty old. But there's a great line in the Temptations film when it's like the 80s, I think, the 1980s, and the Temptations have kind of, their stars fallen. It's not mid-60s when they hit their stride. And they're performing in these, smaller venues. And one of the Temptations, Melvin Franklin, goes to Otis Williams, and Otis asks, "Hey, what's it look like out there?" And Otis says, "Well, only half the house is filled up. We can only fill up half the house." And Otis said something I'll never forget. I think about it all the time in times like this. It's like, well, you know what? Half the house still deserves a great show. I love that. I love that attitude. I love just giving it your all. If we have 0 viewers, if we have 1 viewer, if we have 100 viewers, John and I are still going to bring it. We're going to leave everything on the field. Am I right, man?
You're right. I mean, literally. So, like today, I had someone reach out to me who I've talked to before. He's like a small creator. He's a very single issue arms embargo creator. And he's a great guy. I posted about him before. He's put together a bunch of like polls and data indicating that, hey, if Kamala Harris were to advocate for an arms embargo, it would help her in the election. And he made like one of my back and forth style videos, and he's like, "Hey man, just want you to see this. You can totally just remake it exactly if you want. You're much better at it." And I was like, "No man, like this is how you get here. Like, not that I'm even some like anyone should aspire to be, but like if you go back and watch my original content, it is garbage.
Same.
And it was just me figuring out how to make shit that connected with people. And I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that, like, the key to success is honestly what you just said. It's, I don't care if there's half a house, they still deserve a good show.
Yep.
I'm going to try and make the best product I can, no matter who's going to watch it or listen to it. That is how you get good at anything, especially this game.
Yeah, especially when your face is the product. Well, your brain and your face are equally the products, and because it's real easy to take that shit personally. How could you not?
My brain is the product in spite of my face, too.
Yeah, but like, how could you not take it personally? Because I always tell people that want to start, because when you start out doing this is going to be content creator, pep talk hour and shit. But when you first started it, you're like, okay, I would like to do something here and hopefully this will work. The passion needs to be there because, look, the odds that you go viral are slim. Like, say it takes people years sometimes to go viral or to get any success. And look, you got to face the reality. It might not happen at all. And if you're comfortable with that, just like John said, that I'm doing this no matter what. This is something I feel passionate about and I love doing it. And that's and the repetition will make you better because yes, those first videos, I have no clue how anyone watched that shit. It is awful. The angles, the lighting, it's the stuff I was focused on doing. Like, I really liked long takes back then. I would just talk for 3 minutes and not do any cuts. I just think they're terrible videos, but they caught on, and over time you get better. But it's like anything else. You just do it time. I remember I would see people that had like 5 or 10,000 followers, and I was like, wow, I can't imagine having something like that. It's weird to think about now, but
But that's our advice. That's our pep talk for anyone out there who wants to go be a political content creator.
One more thing.
Piece of advice.
Oh, good.
Don't do it. It fucking sucks.
Don't do it. Stay away.
I wish that
stay
part
far
of
away.
my identity wasn't connected to this because, goddamn, I put in so much work into this.
Yeah, once you're
very little in return.
Once you're in, you're in. You're stuck. I was saying something too because I remember. Thank you, Mark. Mark said, "Now you guys are awesome." Well, we've always been awesome, but I mean, this is everyone knows it now. Yeah, everyone knows it now. But I remember I was mentioning like I kind of regret what I said earlier when I said I saw people with 5 or 10,000 followers and I was blown away by it because I remember when I did have 10,000 followers and someone commented on my account and they said, "Man, your stuff is really great. I can't believe you only have 10,000 followers." And I just stared at that comment. I said, I have 10,000. What are you talking about? Only 10,000. I was super happy with that 10,000, and you should be too. If you're a content creator that someone would call a small creator, listen, it's 10,000 people. Like, imagine if you started talking outside and 10,000 people came up to you and said, "Wow, I really love what you have to say. I can't wait to hear more." Even if like a quarter of them are bots, like whatever, like, you know, like 7,500 people came up and said, "Man, your stuff's amazing." You would be on cloud nine. So yeah, be proud of that follower count. Like I feel bad for disparaging it because that is a lot of people, and you should, you know, take some pride in that.
It is a really hard juxtaposition that
Let's not push it.
that my human brain just isn't capable of comprehending, because on one hand, I know the lived experience of my reality that I have over 100,000 followers across multiple platforms. I get millions of views, and my ability to impact the world is relatively the same as someone who has 10 followers. And, you know, it's probably significantly better, but like in terms of actual impact.
Oh, relative.
Nothing.
I see what you're saying. Okay. All right.
Exactly. If you compare me to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I am way more. Even if you compare me,
or the Hawk Tua girl.
Yeah, you compare me to the Hawk Tua girl. Like, exactly. Like, Hawk Tua girl got so much more ability to impact the world than I do. And like, that's not to disparage Hawk Tua girl, but it's to say that like that's what I live. That's my everyday understanding of my platform. But then when you think about it, what you just said, then like if you were in front of a crowd and you said something and 1 million people listened and said, "I like that. This is an experience I get regularly."
Yeah.
But it's not, because it's on social media. So like you don't get you disassociate from the big numbers. You just my brain cannot comprehend them. But it is kind of crazy. Like, it is absolutely nuts. If my grandfather was told that his grandson would to millions of people, he would be floored. He'd be the proudest grandfather in the world.
Yeah, and he wouldn't even be able to comprehend it. He said, your grandson is going to impact millions of people who will see something and send him a message saying they liked it, and he wouldn't even be considered actually famous. So like it would shatter his brain. Like, what are you talking about? Of course he is. It's so strange, but yeah, we live in a horrible time, but also an amazing time that regular folks can do anything like this. It's one of the few good things that is left on the internet. But let's go to regular people doing terrible things. Oh, yeah, there we go.
I want to highlight this, Alex, because we are going to get to this. I'm so excited to talk about this. But before we jumped on this show, I started complaining about something.
Okay.
And it's related to
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Of this episode. So we're going to start with Rogan, and then we're going to circle back to Tony Hillcliffe. Are they related, by the way? Like, I've heard that.
I don't know. I haven't heard
the Rogan sphere. That's
on the title of the show. Was that? Well, I'll pull up like why I titled.
Oh, so that's why. Okay. So I'll wait for your explanation of why Joe Rogan accidentally doomed Donald Trump's election.
All right.
The thing I posted today was that fucking Kamala needs to go on Rogan. It's so insane that she hasn't done it yet. And Rogan like tweeted this thing where he's like, "Oh yeah, I want her to come here," and she said, "Nah, come to me for an hour-long interview." I was like, "No, I do all my interviews here. I want to sit down with you face to face in the studio like everyone else." And I've seen like fucking liberals go like, "Oh, how dare he? He's just a podcaster.
I know,
asking the vice president of the United States to come to him during this busy week." I'm like, bro, she needs Rogan infinitely more right now than Rogan needs her. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And like, I was commenting with someone there, and I was like, well, what would be a better use of her time than to go to the largest platform in the country with the specific target audience she has been kowtowing to for the past 2 months and have a 3-hour-long conversation that is going to earn millions of dollars worth of earned media for free, just like that. All the news outlets will be covering it. It'll be everywhere in the very days before the election. and you're not going to take a trip to fucking Austin to do it. What an idiot. And they're like, and I was like, they're like, oh, well, you know, she shouldn't have to do that. I'm like, well, Trump did it. So if Trump can do it, why can't she? And they're like, she's the vice president of the United States. I think she has better things to do with it. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Are you about winning? Like, do you care about winning? Does it matter to you to win this election? Or do you just like, what the fuck do you care about? Like, it really ground my gears right before I jumped on here, DJ.
Yeah, I saw some of that too, and I rolled my eyes just as hard where people were saying that it's like, who does Joe Rogan think he is? I'll tell you who he thinks he is. He thinks he's the person in the power position right now because he is. Did you watch the Trump interview? Joe Rogan did not show an excessive amount of deference to Donald Trump. He was like breaking his balls and shit a lot of times. He's like, let me see that scar in your ear. And then Trump turned like a good little boy to show him his ear. It's like, yeah, because Rogan knows the power he holds in that position. Like, for a small window in time, media influencers like that can really bully these candidates. They can. And because like John said, the candidates need them more than they need the candidates. And especially right now, toward the end of the election, and that the Harris is worried about the male vote. She's losing it really badly. And this is the thing too. I can't stand the respectability shit that we act like these folks are the aristocracy. Like, let's make one thing clear. Kamala Harris works for Joe Rogan, not the other way around. Okay,
yeah, I would much rather the media have the power to influence the politicians' behavior than the other way around. It's insane to suggest otherwise.
She is not a countess or something. He doesn't have to like, oh well, let me rear it. No, if she wants to come on his show, she'll follow his rules. If she doesn't, that's fine. That's cool. But Joe Rogan isn't an asshole. Well, I mean, he's an asshole, but not for that reason. Because I want to do my show on my home turf, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why you'd be mad at Rogan for that. I really don't understand. It's like disrespecting the vice president. I remember during Hurricane Katrina, Dick Cheney went to visit the ruins of the rubble down there. And while he was being interviewed on live television, some guy in the background walked in and yelled, "Fuck you, Mr. Cheney," while the interview was going on. And I remember people were really mad. It's like, how dare he? That is the vice president of the United States. Like, no, last I checked, Americans are encouraged to criticize their leaders. And you want to say fuck. Oh, it is funny though. I think Jon Stewart pointed out that that's part where I remember it, that he said fuck you, but was nice enough to say Mr. He said, fuck you, Mr. Cheney. So that's all the respect that Dick Cheney deserves. Like, I can't really get over that. So, with Joe Rogan, this is the reason.
I want to address Mark's comment here real quick, and then we're going to jump into it, because why can't she? Because she can't hold an intellectual conversation for that long. And this I fundamentally disagree with, because she can, at least as good as Donald motherfucking Trump. But the thing is, Kamala, you're not helping me defend this. Like, just prove them wrong. Like, you kind of did it during the debate. Do it again. Like, it kind of makes me doubt that she has confidence in herself to be able to do that, because I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd be right on the plane. I'd be, let's go win Joe Rogan's endorsement. It's going to be so easy. He doesn't want Trump. He doesn't like Trump. He just kind of hates the Democrats. I'm just going to prove I'm a normal person and get his endorsement. That's all she has to do. Have a 3-hour-long normal person conversation. And for whatever reason, she won't do it.
Yeah, I'm glad Mark mentioned that, because I had that thought while we were thinking about this, that what this signals to me, or when I saw it, it's like, oh, the campaign doesn't trust its candidate. That's what it seems like, that it doesn't. Because Joe Rogan, sure, Joe Rogan is no friend of the left or whatever, but Joe Rogan is not a hostile interview. He
might be the least hostile interviewer of all.
Yeah, it's not like they're asking you to sit down for 3 hours with Sean Hannity. Okay, fuck that. Of course not. But Joe Rogan, sit down, talk to the guy. In fact, no one would force you to stay 3 hours. If you want a 1 hour conversation with Joe Rogan, I get it. I mean, who wants to talk 3 hours? Well, we would. But, I can understand that if Kamala Harris does, I can come, I can do 1 hour. He can't make you stay the other two. And I don't know. It's like the campaign must have been like, what do we have to gain from this, and what could we possibly lose? I mean, I don't know. But hey, this is their call.
You can't say, if they had spent the last 2 months coming towards us and going to the left and all this, it's like, okay, cool. I understand what you're saying there. But you're like sitting on a stage with Liz fucking Cheney. You're praising Dick Cheney. Like, you have been fucking horny for independent Republican centrist votes. And this is the #1 platform for those kind of people. Like, it's just, it's a complete waste of time and money to not go do this.
I think they may have given up on the specifically male part because Rogan's audience is overwhelmingly men. Like, I mean, it's probably like 85%.
Then what's the worst thing that happens? They don't vote for her like they already weren't going to.
Right.
But if she goes on there and wins his endorsement, which she very fucking, I'm telling you, Joe Rogan does not like Donald Trump. He does not like Dana White. He doesn't like any of them. He fucking personally hates them.
Yeah.
Someone needs to tell him what to think. He doesn't have his own thoughts. So,
yeah.
Like, just tell him what to think and he'll think it, because Donald Trump did not make a convincing case.
Yeah. I wouldn't bank on, because I know, like, Rogan's had lefties on the show before, and he's just a wishy-washy guy. Like, he has like a lot of insane conspiratorial views and everything. Well, I don't know. I would have recommended especially if I trusted my candidate. That's the thing too, like you said. Unless it was like I saw something that's like, oh, I don't know how well she's gonna do here because it's fucking Joe Rogan. I don't know. Whatever. And you can't say, well, Joe Rogan's this toxic guy because, like you said, you're appearing with Liz Cheney and you're hyping up how much Dick Cheney loves you. Joe Rogan, as far as I know, Joe Rogan has not killed millions of people in a war. I mean, he might be responsible for a few COVID deaths here and there, but certainly not on the Dick Cheney level.
A couple.
Yeah, he's on the junior leagues when it comes to the being a murderous influence. But all right, anyway, so what we were talking about in the caption of the show that Joe Rogan may have ended Trump's campaign. I'm sure you all have heard about the Madison Square Garden rally and that Trump went on, and we got to do this top for tomorrow because there was so much to talk about.
We're going to have maybe multiple topics.
Oh my God, there's so much. It was, I couldn't believe how big of a fuck up this was for Trump right at the finish line. But one of the people who performed was a man named Tony Hinchcliffe. And do you know anything about Andy Kaufman by any chance? Like Andy,
was he? The name I know.
He was a comedian in the 70s. Yeah, and he had this alter ego, and I thought the alter ego's name was Tony Hinchcliffe, but it's like that can't be right. We're a weird coincidence. But anyway, Tony Hinchcliffe went on stage and made
Tony Clifton.
Okay, Tony Clifton. I was like, okay, wait a minute. That sounds all right. Thank you, because that was really bugging me. Not enough to look it up apparently, but it was bugging me. But he went on stage and made a whole bunch of racist ass jokes about Latino people, black people, Jewish people, and Palestinian people while he was at it. And I brought up that caption because of this right here, that Joe Rogan may or may not have been responsible for getting Hinchcliffe on that stage, because back in August, shut up. Back in August, he said this about Donald Trump.
It would behoove him to hire a few great comics to just tour with him and just write one-liners about all these different fucking people.
I mean,
if he could remember them, I mean, I know he likes to go off his own head, but if he could remember a few Hinchcliffe bangers, if he hires Hinchcliffe to take him on the road, do you know how fucking insane that would be?
Yeah, dude.
Hinchcliffe writing bangers for Trump to shit on people. Trump was smart. He would hire Shane and Tony Hinchcliffe to write.
So now I have this is total speculation. I have no evidence that Joe Rogan, that they actually followed his advice and hired Hinchcliffe for the campaign. And Hinchcliffe may or may not have a significant impact on Trump's reelection, but it would be a fittingly hilarious and ironic ending to Trump's political career if that was what helped put the nail in the coffin.
So much here, TJ. There's so much here to talk about because like not even getting to Madison Square Garden yet. Just like Joe Rogan in particular, I just first knee-jerk thought, my God, he looks so high. I wish I had Joe Rogan's millions of dollars so I could get on here, load it off my fucking balls, and just do this podcast with you, TJ. I wish I had that kind of multi-million-dollar confidence. But Joe Rogan doesn't have Tony Hinchcliffe. Or Hinchcliffe, whatever the fuck his name. He's not a good comedian. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan, I actually think, for someone who isn't a stand-up comedian, does stand-up comedy decently well. Like I don't think he has great specials, but as someone who doesn't do it as a profession, he does it pretty damn well. Hinchcliffe doesn't. Hinchcliffe clearly doesn't understand what comedy is. He is just a shock jock. and it's incredible. I made a TikTok. It was the last TikTok I made. I made it yesterday, and it was about how he made 2 separate jokes on. I mean, he made many terrible jokes, but there were 2 particular jokes on that stage about Hispanics. One of them being the Puerto Rico is an island of garbage line, and the other one being, yeah, these Hispanics, they're going to have babies because, you know, they don't pull out. They love to come inside, just like they did to our country. And that joke, while I think is in bad taste and not a particularly good joke, is at least a joke.
Yeah.
It is structured. It is a joke. It is a sexual innuendo. The funny part is the sexual innuendo, not any sort of degradation of people of a certain race. The Puerto Rican garbage line, I think the reason that it stuck out so much, and I'm actually surprised by the firestorm that has arisen over it, but like, it's just racism. It's just, hey, this is a controversial comment that's going to offend people. Laugh at it. That's it. That's literally it. There's no clever pun in there. There's no comparison. There's just, Puerto Ricans, garbage.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in this country, TJ. Do you know where they all are?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. No, Pennsylvania and Florida and New York. And so Florida and New York less important, but like there's a lot of them here in Pennsylvania. And I've never seen Republicans so scared of a Trump thing, at least in a long time. Like they're distancing themselves from this.
They are.
Not to mention that Puerto Ricans are Americans, and half the country doesn't even understand that.
Oh God, that's true. Yeah, people who are the Puerto Ricans are some sort of separate group of people. Like they're actually. It is weird though. Like it is, to be fair, it is weird and confusing that Puerto Ricans are American. They can't vote in the federal election though, which is
it's weird because we live our everyday lives assuming there's no legal discrimination in the United States of America.
Yeah.
But they're fucking it. Like it is the most clear cut legal like I kind of went viral, not like viral, it was one of my like bigger threads, and it was like, you're how people are always like, oh, tell me one way minorities are discriminating against the United States. Puerto Ricans don't get the votes. They don't have suffrage. What are we doing here? They're just as American citizens as I am, and they're not going to vote on Tuesday. Like, what are we doing?
They can vote in primaries though, which
that's the funny part,
like this is like it's a real great system we have here, folks. It makes perfect sense, everything about it. And like where people alive for Puerto Rico to be a state. Look, listen. Puerto Rico should either be a state or should not be part of the United States. One or the other. I don't know how you could defend this like colonial territory mindset and shit. Make it a state and give representation. Same with DC, by the way. But yeah, about the Tony Hinchcliffe thing. Yes, the actually, I can pull it up here about what he said, because that's something the Puerto Rican people joke was the one that stood out the most, and I think you nailed exactly why. Because what was the comedic value here? Like, what were you actually going for? All right, do I have it shared? Here we go.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
All right, so Hinchcliffe is like a shock jock, like you said, an insult comment. Oh, you said about Joe Rogan too. So Joe Rogan used to be a stand-up comedian. Like he used to do regular stand-up comedian shit back in the day. That was kind of
long.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
He never did.
Yeah, because yeah, he did Fear Factor, and but he did because this is like, do you remember Carlos Mencia by any chance? He had that
name.
Yeah, he had a Comedy Central show called Mind of Mencia, and it was. I mean, people liked it, but it has not aged well at all. It was a Mexican guy making a bunch of racist jokes, and it was just but. Joe Rogan and him had this like beef because they would do comedy shows, and Mencia was stealing the jokes from a whole bunch of other comedians. And like during Mencia's set, this is how Rogan really fired up and rose into prominence. Besides the Fear Factor thing, he got on stage and started roasting him and everything, and blaming for that, and ruined Mencia's career. But yeah, Rogan was actually pretty big, and that's why he knows like so many stand-up comedians and everything. It has been a long time since he's done it regularly, but that's why he's decent at it, even his old age. But by the way, you should Google Joe Rogan young sometime and see how he looked, because
I know how he looked. I don't like the Joe Rogan experience as a podcast. He's way too long-winded. It's way too much to keep track of. I just can't do it. Every once in a while, there's good clips, and I'll watch them. I like Joe Rogan, the person. I think he's a pretty cool dude. I would love to be friends with him. Like he's genuinely intellectually curious, just doesn't have the intellectual capacity.
Just doesn't have it. Yeah, just doesn't have it.
Be he doesn't have the taste to be discerning enough to like have a positive influence. But
yeah.
The world would be a better place if there was more Joe Rogans and less like Fox News and MSNBCs. And I believe that in my core.
Joe Rogan gives off strong, stoned older brother energy. Mm-hmm. Like Joe Rogan to me is a guy. I think he actually does mean well. He's just not. He just, like you said, he doesn't have the gray matter to actually, get anything accomplished very well because he doesn't understand things and prone to believing absurd conspiracies. But yeah, the putting together the joke and everything, and watching the Trump people scramble on it, like seeing, oh, I should have found that clip with Mike Pence. Not Mike Pence, but JD Vance when he was talking about this, and he says, oh, I heard something crazy, like some jokes were made, and I can't believe people are making a big deal out of it, just like some horrible reactions. And Trump was saying, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about it. So you can tell they're scared by this. I saw Megyn Kelly. Do you see Megyn Kelly throw a fit about this? It was great. I got to find that.
While you look for that, I just wanted to add that the campaign, it was released. Like the campaign vetted his speech. Like it's not like they were just like, yeah, Tony, go out there, say whatever you want. They vetted his speech. They cut jokes. He wanted to call Kamala a cunt, and they said, no, you can't do that. So clearly they approved his message. They can't backtrack from that.
Yep.
Like they 100%, they read that and they're like, yep, no problem with calling Puerto Rico a literal island of garbage.
Oh, all right. So here's the reaction from Megyn Kelly, which is fantastic. Guys, at least I can tell they're really nervous here. Let's see what old Megyn had to say. By the way, I want to point out about Megyn Kelly, speaking of jokes or whatever, when Donald Trump ran for president the first time and he did the whole attacking Megyn Kelly when she dared question him, saying that she had blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her whatever and everything, and she had to leave Fox News and shame and embarrassment and everything. And the fact that she's come back to be a Trump sycophant, it's like Ted Cruz level embarrassing. Like, where's your dignity?
I'm not ashamed to admit this.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to become a Megyn Kelly fan.
What was that?
I was like, because I respected Megyn Kelly to a certain extent. She seemed like one of the Fox News people who had something going on between their ears.
Yeah.
Played to the audience. And so when she left, I was like, oh shit, this is the kind of person who has everything in front of them to like remake themselves however they want to, who I thought was fairly intelligent, who could, be something special. And she just, you know what? I'm going to go back to where the bread is buttered and become a Trump sicko fan again. It is I'm very disappointed in what Megyn Kelly's career is versus what it could have been.
Yeah, like a Fox News. Like there are ones that are more serious than others. And Alex is saying that was Mika Brzezinski. No, Alex, it was definitely Megyn Kelly. I will take you to the. I'll give you a steak dinner at the dining establishment of your choosing if you can show me that was Mika Brzezinski. That was definitely Megyn Kelly. It was during one of the debates, and she was asking him a question, and Trump said that about her. And all right, well, I'm gonna pull this up.
Yeah, it was Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, it's Megyn Kelly. All right, so here we go. Here's what she had to say about the rally.
Trump was not well served by those around him last night. It wasn't a Nazi rally. All that's nonsense. But I'm telling you, even for me, and I voted for Donald Trump last week, it was too brotastic. Okay? It was. You're trying to win an election in which you're hemorrhaging female voters. Maybe when you present in front of hundreds, thousands at least, at Madison Square Garden, you clean up the bro talk just a little so you don't alienate women in the middle of America who are already on the fence about Republicans. Do they have no women advising their campaign? Is there no actual woman sitting
Correct.
behind the scenes coming up with the guest lineup and saying, let's just have a word with the guys who are going to be speaking about this isn't the bar. This isn't their living room. This is a campaign. This is politics. We're trying to get him elected. We don't need to rally the base or guys anymore. And it's not helpful, even if we do want to rally the base or guys, to go full off-color insults to different racial groups and so on. I get it. Trust me, nothing that was said offended me. I'm almost unoffendable. But I understand how this plays, especially with women. And it was an effed up choice. They took what was an amazing celebration of Trump, exciting and well-attended and hugely enthusiastic, and gave themselves a big black eye. This isn't about the insane media, which did, of course, what the insane media is going to do. This is about them giving the insane media all these headlines that undermined the main man, Donald Trump, who did exactly what he should have last night. You effed up. Hopefully you'll do better in the closing week of the campaign.
I love that Megyn Kelly is acting like this is wildly out of character for the Trump campaign. She's like, I can't believe what I saw. What are you guys trying to do? It's like, Megyn Kelly, where have you been for the last 10 years? Like, where, you know firsthand how off color and how degrading and how crass, like not just the campaign, but Donald Trump is. There was nothing surprising about this whatsoever.
Yeah, the one thing I disagree with, there is a woman advising his campaign. Her name is Laura Southern.
Oh, yeah. Laura Loomer.
I'm sorry. Laura Southern is the one.
Another one, yeah.
That's another one. My bad, yeah. But, yeah, so, yeah, another just first knee-jerk reaction. She looks so much like fucking D from Always Sunny.
It's Always Sunny. Oh my God, she does.
Right?
Wow.
Like,
yeah. And you
crazy.
would know for people who look like It's Always Sunny characters. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. Megan, let me know if you want to go to
I know you guys will do a sketch together sometime. Yeah.
But so this is what I'm saying. Like, Megyn Kelly has the intelligence to like understand this, you know, but like you've tied yourself to, I'm not gonna feel bad for you, Meg. Like, you've tied yourself to this horse. And like, honestly, I don't know. I don't want to speak for women here. But like, if I was in that position and I found myself saying something like, hey dudes, stop being so bro culture and stuff. You're alienating other people like me. Totally not me. I want to say I'm cool with it, but like, you're going to alienate other people like me. Not because I agree with them, but because it's just crass and it's just like, just say what the fuck, like what, I don't get it. I don't get it, TJ. I've never understood that kind of person that's just okay with othering themselves in order to service the cool kids. Like I've never been that kind of person, and I just do not understand the appeal or why anyone would do it to themselves. Yeah.
This doesn't offend me, but I'm sure it would offend other women. That's a weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why doesn't it offend you? Because I get the feeling it does offend you, but you just don't want to.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. You don't sound like, because I got to tell you, once again, not Megyn Kelly, can't speak for her, but if I hear something that is funny, or because these are jokes, right? These are jokes. Now I can say that wasn't offensive, but it wasn't funny. That's like that's one critique I can make. Or that was offensive and it wasn't funny. I'm just gonna be upset. Yeah, and I'm gonna make it known. But it's like, well, I don't find it offensive, but other people can. We need to worry about that. I never say that shit. I never. Like, if I think something is within the acceptable bounds of discourse and it offends somebody, that's too bad. That's too bad. But, you know, the Megyn Kelly saying, this is perfectly fine. You didn't say anything wrong, but, you know, other folks, they might be a little sensitive about this. That, I don't know. That seems disingenuous to me.
I think I'm getting to it, is that my problem with the comment wasn't that people got offended. And I feel like when we talk about offensive comments, it's so often through the lens of this person got offended by it, therefore it's wrong. And I say fuck no to that.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
If you make a funny fucking joke and it offends someone, you're not going to hear anything from me. It's a funny joke. Good job, bro. If you're punching down, I might critique you for that. I might critique you for that, but I will say, hey, the joke was funny. You landed, you know? And he did neither. He didn't make a funny joke. It was just offensive. And what I keep saying is, why was it funny? That's the part that's important. Why did he think that this joke would land with this audience. And I've heard people say, oh, well, didn't you know that Puerto Rico has a garbage problem right now?
No, bullshit. I've heard that too. Get the hell out of here.
Even if I were to concede that maybe that's what he was thinking when he did the joke, no one in the fucking audience of white New Yorkers would understand that joke. Either he's the worst comedian of all time, which, you know what, to be fair,
perhaps so.
Or he intentionally made that joke because he thought that the audience would laugh because he's insulting Puerto Ricans. That is why. That's why the joke was funny, because it was insulting to a minority group, which the audience wants to punch down on. That is the problem with the joke. It's not that it would offend Puerto Ricans. And I've still heard Republicans be like, oh, well, if you think Puerto Ricans are so thin-skinned, like that, you're the one being offensive. I'm like, no, that's not the fucking problem. The problem isn't that it's hurting Puerto Ricans. The problem is what it reveals about the people who are saying it, laughing at it, and platforming it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like the point of the joke, because I don't know, like I was really upset whenever when I saw people saying, well, he's actually bringing attention to the fact that there's a real problem with waste management in Puerto Rico. I was like, there's no way you believe that. First, I doubt you knew that. I don't even know if it's true, but I doubt you knew that.
There's no way they knew that before.
No fucking chance.
Saturday.
Yeah, right. And it sounds like you're just scrambling. It reminds me, I remember when, Brett Kavanaugh was being investigated for a sexual assault that he was, an allegation from when he was in college, I believe. And all these, I was still using Facebook and everything back in these days. And all these women, remember I grew up evangelical conservative Christian or whatever. I saw all these women that I knew during the investigation or during the, testimony and shit. And almost all of them said, wow, Brett Kavanaugh looks really bad here. Like, I really want a conservative Supreme Court justice, but I got to tell you, this sounds awful. The next day, after Kavanaugh and his team released a statement, and the statement said, listen, Betty Ford gave her testimony. And when she gave it, it was so emotional that people were like, okay, this lady is not lying. She's clearly not lying. Every conservative I know said that. The next day, when Kavanaugh released a statement from his team saying, we believe Betty Ford, we just think it's someone else, they all said it. They all said, that's what happened. I believe she's telling the truth, but it was someone other than... They just needed an excuse. And that's exactly what happened to this Puerto Rico thing, that they're grasping at straws. They'll reach for absolutely anything. And I love what you mentioned about how there are funny jokes that punch up, when it's a lot harder to be funny when you're punching down. It's a lot harder. Like that is, and I always say, we've said in the show plenty of times, that if you ever tell a joke, whether you're a comedian or not, but if you ever tell a joke and nobody laughs, it is always your fault. Always. It is either A, you fucked up the structure or the timing or the delivery of the joke. Could happen to anybody, but it's your fault. Or B, you didn't understand your audience well enough to know that they'd get a reference, they'd understand a word, they'd see what you were trying to get at. That's what happened. And so, like, when you can't get a group of Republicans to laugh at something racist, you know you fucked up. And I want to pull up an example here of someone who knows a thing or two about offensive jokes.
Have you?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I love this.
Yes,
I was going to bring this clip up.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you don't know Anthony Jeselnik tells the most offensive jokes you can think of, and they're fucking side splitting. Like, the guy is a master at telling, which, once again, hard to do. It's not easy to go up and say something really offensive and get people to laugh at it, but he's perfect when he says right. This is, by the way, before Hinchcliffe. This is weeks ago, if I remember correctly, when I saw this. Yeah.
And all these comics now, it's like almost the point is to get in trouble. It's like, why are you giving me shit? I'm a comic. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. That's wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Art.
Oh, wait, say it again so I don't miss it.
People think like, oh, as a comic, your job is to get in trouble. And so, but they don't want to get yelled at. It's like, it's okay to make people mad, but they don't want any pushback. And I think that's wrong. As a comedian, you want to make people laugh. This is a quote attributed to Andy Warhol that I love. It's just, art is getting away with it. You know, if you put out a special and everyone's pissed, like, you didn't get away with it. You know, you need to make everyone laugh that they're like, yeah, he talked about some fucked up stuff, but we're all happy. That's art. Otherwise, you're just a troll.
Perfect.
Yeah. And not to add on to that, because I watched that, and the thing that he didn't say, which I'm 100% certain he thinks, but didn't articulate in that moment, was that like it's cowardly to hide behind the joke. Like if you are going to make a statement, especially, and Mark kind of ties it in here, because Mark mentions, oh, didn't you see him at the Tom Brady roast? He doesn't buy Don't Punch Down, which, you know, we can get into Don't Punch Down, but there is a difference in audience and platform at a Comedy Central roast and a political rally.
That goes with the second part, like your audience. You have to know your audience. And
exactly. Like that is, if you're, even if we are just judging this on the basis of stand-up comedy, the audience that you are delivering to matters.
Yep.
You even like, we're not talking politics here. If you are delivering a stand-up bit at an open mic in fucking downtown Memphis, it's going to have different jokes in it than if you are delivering to a sold-out show at Madison Square Garden. It just is. Yep. There are different audiences, and you have, like, it's part of the art to know your audience. So, and in that context, yeah, you can say the on point of a roast is to say the wildest fucking shit for the sake of saying the wildest shit.
Yes.
Everyone in that audience is fully aware that you probably don't mean any of it. It's all entirely just jokes for the sake of saying shocking shit. That is the context in which it is delivered. That is not the case at a political rally, bro. Like, if you're going to show up to a political rally, you're already making a political statement. You are already speaking at this rally, making a sincere political statement. So you can't just hide behind it was a joke, because it wasn't. It was a political speech as well. And so, like, if you're going to just hide behind it was a joke, it's fucking cowardly. It is a cowardly move. Stand by the fucking statement, or explain why it was funny. Explain why it was funny in a way that the people who are criticizing you are wrong about. Because he hasn't explained. He's just said, oh, it was a joke. No, a joke can still be bad.
Yeah.
Bro. Like, it can still be bad. It can still be making a statement, which is something a bad person would say. Like, that's just because you're joking doesn't mean you have the right to say anything that you want in any context and get no blowback for it. The thing that makes the art real is the risk you are taking.
Yes.
If you are taking no risk to make an edgy statement, it's not fucking edgy. It's just not.
Yeah. A lot of this has been pretty common where comedians will just, it's fucking lazy. It's so lazy. It's like conservatives. I've always said this about conservatives, that the reason they say facts care about your feelings, they really like that and everything. It's once hilarious because they have a delicate grasp on reality and facts in the first place. But conservatives get this idea, which is true, that telling the truth is sometimes offensive. Like sometimes telling the truth can hurt people's feelings. And what they do is that they reverse it and say, well, if I hurt people's feelings, I must be telling the truth, which is not how it works. And the same with comedy. Sometimes a funny joke might be offensive and upsetting. That doesn't mean if you say something offensive and upsetting that it's comedy. It's a joke. That's bullshit. And people love to do this. Like, have you ever noticed that half of the specials, the Netflix specials, whatever that comedians release, are called like Triggered, or stuff like Hurt Feelings Tour. They love saying this, and it's just an easy way to say, oh, they're like Anthony Jeselnik makes offensive jokes, but they're funny, and he knows, and knowing the audience is important. Hell, telling a joke to your friends and a joke to your grandparents is not going to be the same, right? You like time and place. You got to know what you're actually saying here. And someone who would know a thing about telling funny jokes, a man named George Carlin. He had something to say about this too. I don't know if you saw this, John, but I saw this the other day, and I wanted to pull up what he had to say on this topic.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find unusual, and it's not a criticism so much, but his targets are underdogs. And comedy traditionally has picked on people in power, people who abuse their power. Women and gays and immigrants are kind of, to my way of thinking, underdogs. And, he ought to be careful because he's Jewish. And a lot of the people who want to pick on these kind of groups, the Jews are on that list a little further. You got women, gays, gypsies, blah, 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 and then suddenly you find Jews. And Andrew,
suddenly Andrew's arrested.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, he should do what he wants. And
why does he get away with it, do you think, then?
Well,
we have never laughed at jokes about the poor.
He's appealing. I think he's appealing largely. I think his core audience are young white males who are threatened by these groups. I think a lot of these guys aren't sure of their manhood, because that's a problem when you're going in through adolescence. You know, am I really? Could I be? I hope I'm not one of them. And the women who assert themselves and are competent are a threat to these men, and so are immigrants in terms of jobs and the
So that's why we as an audience then will laugh.
You say we. I don't think you're.
I mean,
in
no,
but I
mean
think
the
you're
collective we.
I think that's what is at the core of that experience that takes place in these arenas. Is a certain, you know, a sharing of anger and rage at these targets. And I'm sure Andrew isn't that angry at them. I'm sure.
All right, that was shockingly similar to what we're talking about. I mean, it's almost like you could have just transplanted that script to exactly what happened the other night.
Yeah, no, it's exactly true. And you know, George Carlin, say what you will about him, he tended to be right about a lot of his takes on art.
Yeah.
And what it meant to be a comic. He's one of, you know, those like comics. He's his favorite comics comic, you know, and he's speaking the truth here. And it's why, like, I saw a tweet one time. I don't think it was anyone of importance who made it, but it lives in my head rent free ever since I saw it. And it was like, conservatism is just a bunch of people who don't understand how things work, getting mad at the people who do because they do. And I think this is an excellent example of that.
Yep.
If you don't understand how comedy works, if you fundamentally don't understand the structure of a joke, if you fundamentally don't understand the difference between punching up and punching down and why it's funnier to punch up than punch down, you're going to laugh at the shock jock joke because you have a very low understanding. Just, oh, that's funny. You know, it sounds like this was supposed to be funny, so it's going to be funny. And then you laugh at it, and then people tell you, oh, it's a bad joke. It's offensive, yada, yada, yada. And you probably take a little offense to that. You're probably like, I thought it was funny, and you're telling me this is garbage. You're basically insulting my taste.
Yeah.
And first of all, I want to make it clear. Yes, I am.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we're doing. Congratulations. Yeah.
It's definitely a morally good person. It's also an intelligent person, a well-rounded person, a person who wants to be a better person would hear that and go, why did these people think that sucked? And I saw a criticism of BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman, my favorite shows. And my first thought was, okay, I want to see the comments here and see why they think this show sucks because I fucking love it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's me. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm a better person than you, but I am pretty damn sure that I try harder to be a better person than the types of people who would hear a joke they liked was offensive and just knee-jerk reaction, no, it wasn't. And it kind of, you can apply that through so many things. When it would, like, women make sexual assault allegations, knee-jerk reaction, they must be wrong. You know, it's like, hey, maybe they are. Maybe
Black teenager shot on camera.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm sure something's wrong. Yeah.
Maybe for generations, Black people have felt like they've been trampled on by the police. No, they must be wrong. It can't be. Oh, well, TJ just got trampled on by the police, guys. But as I say, like, the conservative reaction to that is they must be wrong about their own experience. They must be getting it wrong. It's like, I always acknowledge I might be wrong, and I feel like there's a lot, and there's people on the left that do this too. Don't get me wrong. I call them fucking blue MAGA. I fucking yelled at them about it earlier. But that is, you know, one of the biggest differences I find between myself and a lot of these conservatives. I want to address some comments here since TJ has abandoned me. But Mark, I saw you say that I mentioned your hometown a little bit earlier. Where was that? Oh yeah, John throwing my hometown in. So Mark, if you live in Memphis, if you happen to be at P&H for the open mics there in Memphis in about 2018, you might have seen me because that is where I did my stand-up comedy in Memphis. So maybe we have met in a different time, TJ. TJ, I said the Black people have been saying police have been trampling on them, and then TJ left the show.
I was gone.
It's like,
fucking out of here.
Police got to him.
Yeah, my internet just cut out. I don't know what happened. It was just gone. It's back now, but that was pretty bizarre. When you were talking about how, first off, BoJack Horseman, love the show. I actually haven't watched a lot of the later seasons. I think like season 3 or maybe 4 was the last one I saw, but I did really like that show. Vincent Adultman is one of my favorite like comedy concepts ever. I love Vincent Adultman so, and I tell people, but man, like just telling them about the character doesn't show how funny the concept is of Vincent Adultman. But
any TJ, it's a comedy bit that gets me every time.
Every time.
Character is clearly one thing. There is one character who recognizes them as that one thing, and
funny.
everyone else believe is buying the fucking bit. And it goes back to the core of fucking comedy. Man in a crazy world.
Yes,
but
holy shit.
It's so funny.
It does just like tears every time, every Vincent Adultman scene. Even the way he says his name, Vincent Adultman. But all right, so when you
business,
I at the business factory. Business factory. I spent all day watching R-rated movies at the movie theater. Shit, I love it. All right, so I talk about all the time how conservatives suck so bad at comedy, how they're just terrible, and it's more than that they don't understand. They just like bad like conservative comedy. You ever heard they don't their comedic events don't have laughter, they have clapter, where they'll just say, well, I tell you what, them libs are crazy, right? And everyone just cheers. Like, that's not a joke. That's just applauding people who share the same thoughts you do. I had a clip that I had ready for a show. I think it was the show with Off Joe, maybe the one before that. I actually had this for a while, and I wanted to show this video. And it's, you know who Jim Brewer is, by any chance? He used to be on SNL back in the 90s, the early 90s, and he did this bit called Goat Boy, where he would just sound like a goat or whatever. And he was on SNL a long time ago, but he's been doing conservative comedy ever since the COVID days. Brother, I have got to show you this clip. Like this conservatives are getting better at comedy, folks, and it's starting to make the left nervous. You got to see what they have going on here. This is at let me see, what event was this? This is Awaken America. So much. And as a man who loves comedy, I know you're going to appreciate this, John. But let's see what the right wingers are laughing at these days.
So the Fox guy goes, 7.
Real quick, this is his impersonation of Kamala Harris's Fox News interview with Chris Wallace. That's what this is. Oh, great.
So the Fox guy goes, 70% of America says we're heading in the wrong direction. And what do you have to say to those 70% of Americans? And Donald Trump's been running. Her handlers are coming out. You don't think China was watching that going, oh my God, she's so funny? She answered no question, so funny. And people still follow her.
All right, John. So I've seen this clip like a dozen times, and I never laughed at it until I watched you watch it. Watching you watch this actually did make me laugh. I want to get your first impressions of this. I know you got quite a bit to say, and it's probably going to be a lot of the same things I'm thinking, but I just want to hear it straight from you.
Well, my first knee-jerk reaction to this one was, this guy clearly isn't doing a stand-up bit. Like, even just the way he introduced that, usually when a stand-up comic introduces a story, that introduction is rehearsed, even if it feels like it was supposed to be extemporaneous. He was clearly just going off the cuff there. And he had no joke. He just made funny noises like he was a fucking children's entertainer. Like, genuinely, I've seen funnier bits on the fucking Wiggles than I have. That, like, it's just not, what part of that is funny other than man-made funny noise pretending to be person I don't like?
Yeah.
Like, what is there any deeper level? There's not even a fucking Puerto Rico has a trash problem level to be gleaned from that.
Well, he did do a racist Asian voice, so
He did.
that's
He did
yeah.
manage to
He
get
tried
that in there.
something, yeah.
Yeah, I
and,
almost didn't notice it, but I did pick up on it.
Yeah, me too, because I thought, oh, he's no, okay, I see what he's doing here, and yeah, zero jokes, no jokes at all, like not even a bad joke, just none, just
Not even a joke.
yeah, just
I don't even get what is it like. I don't even understand what the joke could. It seemed like he was trying to maybe set up a joke, and then he just went, oh,
yeah,
no, like there was no statement made. Oh, the Chinese people were laughing at it because she didn't answer a question, but you just did that. Like you're the one not answering the question. Like she gave an answer, bro. Like
right.
She didn't go, oh, like that's not what she did.
I don't understand. And he has a lot of, ever since COVID's been going on, this is what his thing is. He goes on stage, he makes goofy noises, like, bird noises or animal noises with no jokes at all. You're right. It's like he's entertaining children, but he's actually doing the opposite. Because I'm sure you noticed this, the fucking crowd, man. Like there is no one south of 75 in those seats. And look, one of these days, God willing, I will be 75 years old. But I got to tell you, if I'm in a crowd and everyone's laughing and everyone is over 75, I'm like, am I really getting the best comedy here? Like, is this really what's actually funny? Or is this just pandering to what this specific group of people want? Oh, I mean, yeah, also 75, fucking snowstorm. It's just white people everywhere on this on this
I
screen.
got sunburn.
Yeah, holy shit, man. Yeah, that is.
There literally is not a single non-white person.
Oh God, yeah. Whoo, boy.
Which is, by the way, like I know we've talked about this before, and this is kind of non sequitur, but that is how a lot of America is. It really does blow. Like when I see that, I genuinely go, "There's something wrong with this picture." Why? It seems unlikely that any random group of people of like 20 people would have no non-white people in it. But there are parts of America where that is just the case. Like it is, as someone who has always grown up around minorities, and like it just is shocking to me that like that's the normal lived experience for so many Americans.
Yeah, there was you ever hear I get that jarring feeling too whenever I'll hear someone born in the US of A and they'll say something like, I remember the first time I met a black person. Like, what? Like, you remember the first time you met a black person? Like, where did you grow up? But Mayberry? How was this happening? And you know what? I just thought of something here. Candace Owens, also a friend of the show, Candace Owens. Did you see the picture she posted about, I think it was her baby shower or something? This won't surprise you that these are all of Candace Owens' friends right here.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it's just like funny. It's like the least surprising thing that you could possibly. It's just,
how does she do that with zero self-awareness?
I know.
Like, you can't. You're telling me she couldn't find a token black friend?
Yeah, well, so you know what this probably means, because it's like in NWA when Ice Cube left NWA and he did the song No Vaseline and he's dunking on the other members of NWA and tell them that now you're living with the whites, one big house, not another Negro in sight. And that when you get money, your social circle becomes a lot more white. I got that part. I understand. However, her family abandoned her too, because her family didn't show up for the baby shower, which means they've just cut her loose. And so, yeah, that's what that means, that she's completely jettisoned all black people. And like, how could you be a black person and hang around Candace Owens? I mean, I don't understand that at all. But yeah, that's what modern conservatives have come to.
So this has been, I could talk.
I know, right? We got to save a lot for tomorrow.
We basically talked about one aspect.
One person.
Like one person in that Trump rally. It was a hell of a lot more than that. And I just want to make a quick note before we round things up here. The people who are like, oh, they're calling it a Nazi rally. Yeah. Bro, I've said this before a million times. They're winking and nodding at the camera. Like I know that I felt like I'm living in crazy town during this entire Trump thing, but it's like he's sitting there like, yo, I got a secret with the Speaker of the House. You know what the fucking secret is? You're at the fucking Nazi rally place. We know what you're talking about. you couldn't be more clear. Like it's insane, TJ. How like anyone, it's getting to the point where I'm like, I can't fathom anyone in good conscience actually, like, anyone who's saying it's not fucking a Nazi rally, you're a Nazi. Like, what possible excuse can someone who has been accused by his former chief of staff of wanting to be Hitler have for holding his closing argument rally at the only place associated with Nazi rallies in the United States? The one place associated with Nazi rallies, that's where he chose to hold it. Like, we're not fucking dumb. Like, stop being dumb.
No, like that rally, I was always pretty strong on my thoughts that Harris would win. Because sort of touch and go here and there. Now I'm back.
Momentum, like, he has like had momentum the past couple of weeks. He's blown it.
Oh my God.
There's the one thing I will say about Kamala not going on Joe Rogan. It's like, okay, well, maybe you don't want to like risk the momentum.
Take a possible risk, yeah.
But like, you could also double down on the momentum. Like, yeah, I'd rather go for the touchdown than the field goal here, Kamala. But
Wow. Yeah. So, all right. So our full show will be tomorrow instead of Thursday, and we have Liz. Right? Is she going to be on tomorrow?
No, it's Natalie.
No, Natalie. Okay,
Liz
Natalie
is next week.
Oh, great. All right, go Natalie.
Liz is our post-election show.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and are we gonna do a live
on Tuesday?
Yeah.
I figure we should. Yeah, we're supposed to do it Tuesday anyway. So
yeah. So we'll probably we'll talk more about this, TJ. But for our viewers, we're probably going to invite a couple of different guests on.
I'm sure people would love to. Yeah, it should be good
just
time.
have a kind of drop-in session, victory party / therapy. Here's the thing: we're not going to know.
I know. That's what I'm afraid of. Like, the odds are we won't know till like a week or so, which kind of sucks. But if we're lucky, we may have an early result.
This is going to be dragged out for months, TJ. In terms of like having absolute certainty that it went. But like, I remember going to bed on election night last time with a strong idea that we were going to win, but not knowing. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Because Pennsylvania was the one that everyone was really. Arizona and Pennsylvania were the two. And Pennsylvania went blue like early the next morning. Because I remember talking about it at work early the next morning. And when that happened, it looked like Biden had it. Like, I was thinking it was like 80-20 that he was going to win by that point. But, I think Arizona went on. No, Arizona was called early, and then it was called back.
Yeah, Fox News jumped to the gun and called Arizona.
Yeah,
they not have.
Yeah. And so, but the next day, I was pretty confident that Biden had won. Of course, it dragged on for a bit, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And so tomorrow, if the results are pretty firm, then we can have a happy ending. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So tomorrow, the topic should be continuing conversation of Trump's closing argument Nazi rally. Yeah. Harris is having her closing argument rally tonight. So that can be a topic as well. Honestly, that might be all we get.
Yeah, I know. We'll get at least two. Yeah.
If we can't, I wouldn't mind talking about Puerto Rico in general.
Sure.
And then also, there have been some pretty interesting laws put in place in Israel that we could talk about. I don't know.
I haven't heard about that. No.
But I don't think we're going to get to them.
Yeah, most likely. We'll see.
But I'll introduce them if we need to. But I think we're going to have plenty to talk about.
Good stuff. All right. Okay. We'll catch you folks tomorrow.
All right. Bye, guys.